Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to From the Nosebleeds. I'm Joey Gunnar, joined here today by Jake Shapiro. Jake, how you feeling on this Wednesday morning?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to be tied down, Joey, because I don't want to blow away this afternoon. Chris Bianchi, my boy over at 9 News, has scared the heck out of me, but
Yep.
we'll be okay. I think we're going to be okay.
I think we'll be fine. We're battening down the hatches for tonight. But the Broncos have something to do, or have a chance to do something incredible this weekend, something that we haven't seen in 10 seasons, 10 years. It's been 10 years since the last time the Broncos have won the AFC number one seed. They have the chance to win the AFC number one seed and, of course, the AFC West in one weekend. That would be huge, Jake. And it's going to come down to this weekend. Really, it can come down to this weekend because basically all the Broncos need to do is win and then hope that first the Chargers lose, then the New England Patriots lose, and also Buffalo, the Bills lose as well. How realistic is it that the Broncos win the AFC number one seed this weekend?
Yeah, I think the AFC top spot is going to be hard to achieve just with the amount of things they need to go right this weekend. Can they win the AFC West this weekend? Certainly. That scenario is way more on the table. But winning in itself against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are a really strong team on a hot streak right now, I think would be exceptionally meaningful because they would basically take the Jags out of the top spot and they would make everyone else have to keep pace. And the Broncos would really have to lose their last two games to give anyone a chance. So I'm not saying they lock up the top seed with the win on Sunday. You need to win. You need to clinch in order to do that. But they make it exceptionally hard for anyone to come take it. And you mentioned the years since they've gotten the AFC top spot. Joey, the playoff system has changed since the Broncos got the top spot in the AFC, so much so that the top spot is way more valuable because now the top two teams aren't the only ones with buys. It's just the one seed. That's the only one with a buy. So getting that number one seed, I think, is a premium importance to the Broncos because that buy. And instead of having to play 3 football games to make it to the Super Bowl, you only have to play 2, and they're both guaranteed to be here in Denver, Colorado. So very important that the Broncos get that. I don't know if it's happening this weekend, but the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be a really tough team, and that's not one game that we circled on our schedule all the way back in October, saying, oh, that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. And it's even more unlikely when you realize that the Bills are playing the Browns this weekend. Like, it's just not super likely that it happens. I mean, hey, Shedeur Sanders, by the way, kind of going off topic, has more Pro Bowl votes than Bo Nix. Like,
yeah, he's a better player, Joey. We all know that. Come on.
Whoa, relax. Well, I don't know about that. I won't go that far. I love Shedeur Sanders. I still think that he's the best QB to come out of that draft cast, but I'd take Bo every single day of the week.
I mean, he's the best player that's ever existed, Joey. He has his jersey retired. He was 4th in the Heisman, 5th in the Heisman voting. He should have been number 1. We all know that no one on God's green earth has ever touched a football like the way Shedeur Sanders touches a football.
Well, that's certainly what Shedeur Sanders thinks. That's probably exactly what Shedeur Sanders thinks. I love it. But going back to the Broncos, what is the best and worst case scenario you think for, okay, that divisional round, you got the bye, you already have the first seed. Now you have to take on this next opponent. Best case scenario, taking on a team like the Jaguars or taking on a team like, I guess I don't even know who would be sneaking. Maybe a team like the Chargers that they know better than other teams. And then worst case scenario is a team like the Bills. What do you think is best and worst case scenario for them?
Not to get in my bag, but the best case scenario is give me the Pittsburgh Steelers, baby. That team stinks. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers, please, if I'm the Denver Broncos. Like, that is the number one best case scenario. There's no doubt about it. Aaron Rodgers would be absolutely murdered by the Orange Rush. The Steelers don't even really have a good run game. They have literally no wide receivers. Doesn't even matter that the Broncos have good defensive backs because they don't have good wide receivers. They got some good tight ends. That's unfortunate for the Broncos who struggle to cover the tight ends, but I don't think the ball's getting there in time because, again, Nick Bonito and John Franklin Myers, Zach Allen and the boys are going to get after Aaron Rodgers. And that defense has been torn to shreds multiple times this year. That's one that Sean Payton could scheme around, especially on rest and a longer week with, they're not going to know their opponent exactly per se, but they'll have a scouting opportunity going into that week and a time to watch that game. So give me the Pittsburgh Steelers. Worst case scenario, obviously, Joey, it's Josh Allen. This is set up for the Bills to go to the Super Bowl this year. All of the quarterbacks that have gotten in Josh Allen's way, all the teams that have gotten in the Buffalo Bills' way are not here this year. And Josh Allen just beat you in a playoff game last year. It was on his home turf. This one would be on your home turf. There are a lot of things that say the Broncos have a good chance to win this game, but the reality of the situation is Bo Nix has never won a playoff game, and this Broncos group has never won a playoff game. And Josh Allen and those Bills, yeah, they've come up short in the playoffs, but they have won a lot of playoff games, and they have a lot of playoff experience. That, I think, even though they're not as good of a team this year, I think that would just be a really tough matchup.
Yeah, and it's the only playoff experience that Bo Nix and this Broncos team has is losing to Josh Allen. So that is definitely worst case scenario for the playoffs. But first of all, I think we should all be rooting for the Bills to take over the New England Patriots and get that second seed just to keep them as far away as possible. But what you're saying about the Pittsburgh Steelers, they would have to play the Chargers in Pittsburgh and beat the Chargers. Is there any chance that happens? Is there any chance that the Steelers actually beat the Chargers? I mean, that's like the Steelers are in one of the worst divisions ever. I don't think anybody in that division, including the Ravens, I don't think that they're good either, can beat this Chargers team.
Joey, they're the Chargers. They're the Chargers. Anything.
Yeah, this is the same team that blew that lead to Jacksonville in the playoffs.
You can change the quarterback. You can change the coach. You can change the owners. You can even change where they play down to the city. It does not matter. At the end of the day, they're still the Chargers. And being the Chargers, anything can happen to the Chargers this time of year. So they could be the best team in football. I've seen them have some of the most talented football players in the world all together on the roster at the same time. It does not matter. They're the Chargers. So, I think Herbert has looked awesome this year. And then he got banged up a little bit, and he's been a lot less good since. They're down their best part of their team, and they have for most of their year with the offensive line going down. Their running back situation's been a running back by committee. And, their defensive situation, they're missing one of their best defensive players most of the year. Like, I don't think that they're really a serious team. So if the Chargers played the Steelers, that's a toss-up. But honestly, give me either team if I'm the Broncos. The thing is, the Chargers at least have a lot more film on you. So I'm a little bit more worried because maybe they saw something or something developed in Harbaugh. I think at this point is probably a little bit better of a coach than Tomlin. Those fourth down decisions from Tomlin are just unbelievably confounding. So I'm going with the Steelers, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers won that game or the Steelers won that game. That's a complete toss-up if those two teams match up.
I like it. I like it a lot. Well, we'll get a bit more clarity on where things seem to line up this weekend after the Broncos hopefully clinch the AFC first or AFC West this weekend. That would be huge. But let's move on and talk about another team in Denver, the Nuggets. Probably their most telling and thrilling win of the season so far happened on Monday when they beat the Rockets 128-125 in overtime as the Nuggets completely turned up late in the game. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic were incredible. Probably both of their dual best performance this year. What a game. Is it as telling to you as it was to me about what this team can go through and overcome, especially when they're shorthanded?
Yeah. It's been a learning process in that all year long, and it was exacerbated on Monday with the injury of Payton Watson. You have a kid in Spencer Jones, who is not only asked to guard one of the greatest players of all time in Kevin Durant for an entire half, and does so well. Not amazing, but well. Have to play center. He is a shooting guard normally, Joey. He has to play center to close out the game against one of the 5 best centers in the league right now in Alpi Sengun. And the Nuggets come away with a victory. I think what David Adelman has coached into this team very early is incredibly impressive. What this team's been able to accomplish without 2 of their biggest horses and with a mismatch of guys that continues to evolve game by game. I think it speaks a lot to the mental fortitude and how focused this team is. This already is, and I said it going into the season, this is the best Denver Nuggets team ever. And they have proven it early, even without these guys playing. They're on pace to do things the Nuggets have not done since they were in the ABA. And again, they're without half their roster right now. So really incredibly impressive. And Jamal Murray, you can't say enough good things about him to this point. And Nikola Jokic just continues to be the greatest player in the history of, in the history of Denver basketball.
Yeah, in the history of basketball. He's there. He's getting there. And you look at the teams around the league, especially in the Western Conference, the Rockets, the Thunder, of course, the Spurs, all some of the best teams in the league. And the Nuggets just stay in that. They stay in that category, and they continue to dominate and beat teams like this, especially when they're shorthanded. They find ways to win, and that is the best skill you can have as a team. It's the same reason the Broncos are looking at getting the AFC number 1 seed this weekend, because they find ways to win. Good teams win games like this. Bad teams lose games like this. A great performance from the Nuggets. And I don't know how much more there is to say about them. I mean, they broke their home loss streak, and they were losing to bad teams. And then, of course, they break their home loss streak to a great team right now in the Rockets. It's just incredible. Is there anything else you want to say about the Nuggets before we wrap this up?
Yeah, man, I would just say that, it's been really fun to watch. I'm excited to see Thursday's game against Orlando. You've got a lot of buff connections there between Mosley and De Silva. That team has been really solid, even in the absence of Paolo Banchero. That is a tough game still, especially with Peyton Watson being a little questionable. We'll find out at 5 o'clock exactly if Peyton Watson is questionable. Wouldn't be surprised if he missed a couple games. Wouldn't be surprised if he played right away. It just seems like a comfort thing. He did go to his charity event last night at Raising Cane, so it was good to see him just out. So not too concerned about Peyton Watson. I do think at this point, Christian Braun's ahead of Aaron Gordon on the injury timeline, which is, in my opinion, really bad news, because it means that AG injury is something that they're really going to be cautious about, which is the right approach, because it's all about the playoffs this year for the Nuggets. And then we see the Nuggets against the Rockets again on Saturday, and that game got really heated with the officials on Monday. Mm-hmm. And it is an opportunity for the Denver Nuggets to win the tiebreaker over the Houston Rockets for the entire season, which is very important, especially given how tight these two teams are expected to be down the stretch. Getting that 2 seed instead of the 3, making sure that second round playoff series is at home will be very important. If you can get the Rockets bumped down to the 4 so that they're playing their round 2 playoff series against the Oklahoma City Thunder, that is important too. So there's all sorts of implications for this game, even though it's going to be in mid to late December. This is when the meat of the NBA schedule is, Joey. We have arrived at the meat of the NBA schedule. The All-Star voting started today. So if you believe Jamal Murray should be an All-Star, get on that. I know everyone's got their eye on the Broncos, but the reality of the situation, Joey, is it's prime time for the Nuggets, and we're all here to witness it. So really exciting stuff.
Really exciting. Really exciting. Well, Jake, thank you so much for joining today. Everybody else, thank you all for watching. We'll be back with you guys again tomorrow. Hopefully I'm back in studio tomorrow under better lighting. Sorry, my room does not give the best lighting, but thank you all for watching. I'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, y'all have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.